Hey, it's a good morning on Thanksgiving. No wind. No wind today for the first time in a long time. No wind today. Yeah, I don't have to wear gloves, but I would like to say out loud to Miss Kelly, Mrs. Kelly, who sent me the gloves. Thank you very much. They're beautiful. Don't have to wear them today because it is really a nice day. Letting the crowd build up here as always. What do we got? We got 6:53, a little bit slower today. I expect our crowd will be smaller today because it's Thanksgiving. Probably a lot of people traveling. And we're over 1,000, so here we go. First and foremost, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I hope your day so far has started fantastic. And for those of you last night who saw that I was walking and talking in the dark, I was walking the same route I always do. I went on right after I had a dinner with a gentleman, and I'm not going to say his name because it may not work out. Maybe it will. But a buddy of mine who I've been doing TV stuff with for a while. He appears on Fox. In fact, he appeared on Fox this morning. And we had a good dinner, and I explained to him what it is that we're going to be doing now that we raised our $250,000. So, that being said, well, I got two people passing me here, probably looking at me like a freak. Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, they look at me like I'm crazy. All right. Anyhow, maybe I am a little bit crazy. Maybe they saw me walking last night down this block and talking to you at 9:30 at night. Anyway, I was excited. I had just met, had a great dinner, outlined what we're going to be doing with this new media platform. And my buddy said, I can't believe you just raised $250,000 in 9.5 days. And I said, no, we actually raised $261,000 in 9.5 days. And the donations continue to come in, and that's fantastic, and I appreciate it. Any donations that do continue to come in just helps us build things faster. You know, so if you do want to donate, you could go to DennisMichaelLynch.com/donate. But, you know, no pressure. I know that between the 260 that we raised, the 100 that I'm putting in, that's a good start. All right. So, all right, we're up to 3.1. Like I said, this is gonna be a small crowd today, and I understand that. I also think, you know, I look at the inside. We have a thing called Insight Tools for Facebook, and I just see. I mean, they're doing something. You know, we typically take in about, I don't know, 5,000, 2,000, 7,000 likes per day, new page likes. We have now been taking in 100. You tell me, okay? We're out here raising $250,000 in 9 days, and I'm getting 100 new likes. Doesn't make sense. But anyway, I'm not gonna complain. Today's Thanksgiving, it's a great day. I do have some rather negative news to deliver you. I know I said I wouldn't get into politics today, but I don't know. The news always just seems to be shifting, and how do I not deliver some of this stuff? It would be irresponsible of me. Although I do think some of you come on because you enjoy the stories and some of the things I share with you. Ultimately, you're here because you want news. You want information you could trust. So I'm going to start with that. Okay, so this Jill Stein woman, you know, she ran for president as a Green Party member. Well, she's got something boiling inside her where she just doesn't want President Trump to be President Trump. And so she went to the internet and her website and said, hey, if we're going to do a recount of these votes in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, it's going to be very expensive. We need filing fees, and we need to file these things by Friday. So she needed, she wanted $2 million. And that's because good morning.
Good morning.
What a nice lady. What a nice lady. Looking at me, talking on my phone. This looks so bizarre how I do this. But anyway, she needed $2 million because to do the recounts, one of the states, the filing fees to do something of that nature is $500,000. I think that was Pennsylvania. Michigan is $600,000, and Wisconsin was $1 million to do these recount filing fees. Well, would you know it? She raised the money. As of right now, at the last time I looked about a half hour ago, she has raised a total of $3.1 million. And now she has raised the level of what she's asking for up to $4 million, because she says ultimately, to really fight this the right way, she's going to need $6 to $7 million. So the fact that this woman raised that many millions of dollars in 24 hours says a lot. I mean, if you think we are sitting here touting our horn because we raised $250,000 in 9.5 days, you know, take a look at this woman who is now raising millions in less than 24 hours. So yes, the recount is on. Now, here's one of the things she's standing on, all right? So, pretty certain it's, hold on, I wrote down my notes. I think it's Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, bear with me. See, the other guys who deliver the news, they got this stuff written on a teleprompter. I gotta have it in my head. I take these little notes here thing. Wisconsin, yeah, Wisconsin. She is making an argument that quite possibly 30,000 votes were hacked in Trump's favor. And that if so, Trump won that state by 27,000 votes. So she is making the argument that if it was in fact hacked and fraudulent, that state would then switch over to Hillary. She's making the same argument for Michigan and Pennsylvania. Now, the basis of her argument and why it is that she's saying this is legitimate is back in 2004, the Green Party pulled the same sort of thing in Ohio, and it turned out to be that this investigation turned out 2 election officials were nailed for doing fraudulent activity. So that's why she's pushing forward this. She says she's not trying to empower Hillary Clinton, but, you know, it's very clear. She doesn't want Donald Trump in the White House. Now, Hillary Clinton hasn't come out and say anything about this. And, you know, the rumor mill, if you will, among all the news people and stuff, and we communicate with each other, is that, you know, the White House is putting pressure on Hillary to let it go, to not support this thing, because, you know, America needs a smooth transition, and we're already down the path of Trump being, you know, president. And so I assume what will happen is Hillary will just remain quiet about this. She's not going to try to stir the pot. This Stein woman will file these fees. She'll make some noise for a while. And then, of course, because the media all operates on advertising, yours truly as well, you will see these headlines that will try to scare the living daylights out of you. I often tout myself for being able to see the future, if you will, which is really not the ability to see the future. It's my ability to take data, human behavior, news cycles, what's BS and what's not, and be able to come out with a pretty reasonable prediction of what's going to take place, and I'm usually right. I'm not going to do that on this one, because this is so haywire, this is so wacky, this Stein woman is a wacko, as far as I'm concerned, and so I'm going to sit back and tell you I have absolutely zero concern that this is going to be changed. I think we're just going to, and I don't know what the headlines are going to read, and I'm sure just to make them interesting, it's going to be like, oh my goodness, could be hacked and all this other different stuff. So let it go. Don't let it bother you. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. When you're sitting around the table today with your communist cousin and your Democrat daughter, and they sit there and they say, oh, there's going to be a recount, he's going to lose it, whatever it may be, just smile, eat your turkey, and say, you know, I'm really thankful for you and your opinions. And then just in the back of your brain, you just say, my God, how am I related to this person? And that's it. That's what you do, all right? And my little advice, I'm never going to tell you how to operate with your family, but I will tell you this. You're going to go into Thanksgiving today. It's going to be one of the most awkward Thanksgivings, unless you're going to a completely conservative, right-leaning family, and there are no lefties whatsoever, or communists or socialists. You know, nobody likes a sore winner. right? Just like they don't like a sore loser. So usually I have found in an argument that the person who's screaming the loudest is the person who knows they're wrong. Just let them scream, let them yell, and just smile. And just maybe, as a little sarcasm, say, have you tried saying in the mirror, just stand in the mirror and say, hello, Mr. President Trump? Because I think people should start practicing that. Okay, so we got that part of the politics out of the way. One other little note for you is that although I don't think it's officially official, although it could be in the last 20 minutes since I've been driving to my spot here and getting ready for my walk and talk, which required a change of clothes. Obviously, I'm not wearing this to Thanksgiving. Wilbur Ross, billionaire Wilbur Ross. I've met the guy before. Good little story there. I'll tell it to you. We got time. But Wilbur Ross looks like he's going to be the Secretary of Commerce for Donald Trump. So this is a guy who has made a fortune in many different things, but he has definitely taken advantage of companies that have filed for bankruptcy, and he turns them around. And I met Wilbur Ross going back years ago. In fact, this is sort of, I'll repeat this maybe a little bit later in the conversation here, because some of your Q&A, somebody asked me how did I get started in this whole business. Well, when I was first starting, I was out here on the east end of Long Island where there are a lot of billionaires, and I got a phone call from a friend of mine who said, hey, Wilbur Ross's daughter is getting married in a small little church. There's only going to be a handful of people there. Would you mind filming it? So you want me to film a wedding? I don't really film weddings. I've never done one. I've been married, so I know what you want me to capture. And he said, you should probably do it. This guy Wilbur Ross is a billionaire. Well, that never really means anything to me. But I was like, you know what? I'll do it. If it was short notice, they don't have somebody else, I'll go and do it. So I took out a day out of my weekend, said to Mary and the kids, I'll meet you at the beach later on. And I went and I filmed this thing for Wilbur Ross and his daughter, and they thanked me up and down, left and right, offered me some money. And I said, absolutely none. You go and you have a wonderful life in this new marriage, and I'm just happy to have been able to see two people who are in love, move forward in this great world. And that was it. Maybe Wilbur Ross will remember that one day. So anyway, Wilbur Ross looks like he's going to be Secretary of Commerce, and I like the fact that Trump is reaching out to people who have business backgrounds. So much better than to pull some knucklehead from, the House or from the Senate who really is nothing but a, politician. I like the fact he's bringing the outside. Now, that obviously transitions to another topic which you guys have been asking me over the last 24 hours to please address. And I said I wouldn't address it until tomorrow. But I changed my mind because I live. One of the things I think that is special about my connection to you and how I report these things is that I live these things, People looking at me, man. People are looking at me. They're starting to look at me. I think it's a little bit because I'm weird and holding the phone like this and talking out loud and whatever. I mean, they're all looking. But it's funny. I'm getting every single day. Yesterday I was in... took my son, we had to go to the hardware store to buy some stakes for a netting thing we have in our backyard. And I'm sitting there picking out stakes. Guy says to me, that is Michael Lynch, that is Michael Lynch. I said, yeah, I am. So he says, watch it every single day. It is now happening to me every day of my life. And it's funny because I've been on Fox News, Megyn, Hannity, all these other people reaching 3 million people at a time. I go anywhere, nobody says anything to me. I got my own television show for 8 months, #1 show. Nobody says anything to me. I walk around the streets of my neighborhood, which I thought was just a beacon for liberals. I mean, I just thought this was, I thought it was the only conservative. Obviously, I am wrong. The people are coming out of the woodwork. But this good man named Ray, how you doing, Ray? Hope you're watching today. He said, yeah, watch you religiously, man. Learned about you just 2 weeks ago. I said, 2 months ago. 2 months ago. My goodness, you missed so many cool things. So anyway, talked to him for a little bit, and we shared our experiences, or at least he got to share his about living 9/11. Good gentleman, good guy. Said his two daughters, turned him on to the, I guess you call this a show, turned him on to the walk and talk. And they're involved with the New York City Fire Department in some way or another. I can't remember. And he says some of the guys now in the firehouse are watching. So if you're watching the firehouse and the NYFD, I want to say that my family is full of firemen, and you guys are running into buildings when other people are running away from them. And I want to let you know that I think every single last one of you is a hero, and my family definitely appreciates, probably maybe more than others, because we know what firemen and fire ladies have to go through. So I want to say thank you and happy Thanksgiving. But anyway, so I live a lot of this stuff. And so one of the things I live is Common Core, the Common Core curriculum, which is an absolute disaster, if I can steal a word from Mr. Donald Trump. Now, Mr. Donald Trump says it's a disaster, but he doesn't have to live through Common Core. So to me, although I'm never going to knock our president about something like this, but, to him, it's a talking point. And based on information I'm assuming that he has collected from people over the course of time, to me, it's a real life disaster. I sit down with my daughter. Now, why am I talking about this? It's kind of skipped. There's this woman, I think it was her name, Betsy, I haven't spent a lot of time in this in the last 24 hours. Betsy DeVos, she's a really rich lady. Her family started Amway. Amway is the direct selling or something. I don't know much about Amway, but it's, you buy products, you resell products, you get people to sell underneath you, whatever. She's loaded, bottom line. And over the course of time, she has been pro Common Core. And Trump just announced her as the Secretary of Education. Now, first of all, I think the education department should just be wiped out. We don't need government meddling in what should be a local thing, which is schools. I don't want the government telling my kid what it is they learn, how it is they learn it, why it is that they learn it, and coming up with these cockeyed ways in which they want to teach it. So anyway, he picks this woman, and the uproar is, oh my goodness, did we make a mistake here with Mr. Donald J. Trump? He's meeting with Mitt Romney. He's not going to press the pedal down on Hillary Clinton. And now he's turning around and putting in place a pro-Common Core person. So here's what my, a little out of wind today. I didn't get much sleep last night. Anyhow, here's my commitment to you. By tomorrow, I will know everything about this woman up and down, left and right. And hopefully I will have it in time for our 11:40 walk and talk. If I don't, I will have it for you on Saturday morning. As you know, I don't like to speak about things that I don't have clarity on. And when I do it, I get myself into trouble. So I don't do it often. So therefore, I will give you everything I know about this woman, every single agency ever supported, every single dollar she ever spent. I will know everything. As far as Common Core, I'm going to give you my opinion on it right now. And I got a couple emails from people who says, over the last day, that said, I don't understand why Common Core, people are giving it such a hard time. And you know what? Here's how I describe Common Core, all right? 2 plus 2 is 4, or 20 plus 20 is 40. But they don't do it like we used to. They don't have it like, where you do 22 and 23, and you do the 2 and the 3, and you put the number, and you carry, they don't, actually you don't carry anything on 2 and 3, but you get what I'm talking about. If you do 28 plus 24, you got to take the 8 and the 4, and you make it to 2, and you carry it over with the 1. It's not it, man. They start grouping stuff and crazy stuff. And I've sat down with my daughter, okay? May God take me if I am exaggerating this 1 iota as I come close to the church bells, by the way. My wife, I come home one day. This is when I was at Newsmax doing the show. I come home and my 7-year-old, who was 7 at the time, is sitting at the kitchen table with my wife, crying. And the homework's out in front. Mary is the one who does the homework stuff with the kids. God bless her. I love her so much. I know she hasn't been with us now in days, but holidays, she's busy. And she's chicken when it comes to being cold. Although it's beautiful today. Anyway, she's getting stuff ready for today. Making things that will stop my heart, I think. So anyhow, I go home and I see them. They're crying at the table. And when there's crying at the table And my wife, who is basically, I don't know, she's going to be Saint Mary one day, when she's losing her patience with my daughter, I know that I got to intervene. So I said, all right, girls, let's stop this for a second. You, Mary, are obviously losing your patience. And she says, because I've been here for 2 freaking hours going over this math. I said, all right, relax. Go do something. Get yourself a glass of wine, sit down, whatever. And she goes and she lets me jump in. And I go to my little baby doll, who is my whole life. You met her. I had her a couple of weeks ago. I didn't show her face. She's gorgeous. And she's such a sweetie. You know, never, she's like a mother. Never says anything bad. She's loving, always nice, never yells. You know, just the kind of kid you just be like, oh my goodness, I just want to be around her. So I said to her, what's wrong, honey? So she shows me this test thing she did. And there was 20 examples, and every single one she got wrong. Every single one. Simple math. And I'm like, how are you getting all this wrong? And she says, Daddy, I can't understand it. So I sit down, and let me tell you, when it comes to math, you know, I'm not a good speller. I'm terrible. If you guys see some of the Facebook posts, you know, the Facebook posts, people ask me all the time, are you posting? Is somebody else from your team posting? It's a mix. You could usually tell it's me when there's misspellings. So anyway, I'm a terrible speller. But when it comes to math, I'm a whiz. You could give me 6 different equations right away. I go, and I can do it in my head. I am sitting down looking at this sheet, and I can't understand where the hell, what kind of math is this? I can't even explain it to you here. There he is. Good morning, God. Happy Thanksgiving. I give thanks to you every single day. I thank you for these people who are with me today. I thank you for all the goodness in the world. I thank you for Donald J. Trump so far. I thank you for the ability that I have, the health about me to walk and talk to my friends on the other side here of the phone. Thank you. Thank you for all the other sacrifices that your son made. Thank you. Okay, so how to give the respect. Sorry about that, you know, the interruption. Not sorry for giving the thanks, sorry for the interruption. But I know it aggravates some of you guys when I interrupt a flow. But anyhow, so I'm doing this math, and I said to her, okay, here's what we're gonna do, honey. Go inside, take a breather. That's the one thing about this Common Core, you know, they put so much pressure on the kids, and the kids just start to break down. And you know, you guys have had kids, right? Or grandkids, you watch them. There becomes a time where they're sitting for so long that it starts working in reverse. You know, the brain just doesn't want to be a part of this. And so they got to clear their head. So I said, go ahead, go play with your toys for a little bit. And what I did was I took 20 questions, the same things on the test. I put them all down on a new fresh piece of paper. And I took one of them and I set it up. And I said, come on in here. I want to teach you the math as Daddy was taught it. So she comes back in, all smiley faces, best way to teach a kid, right, when they're happy. So I said, okay, listen, there is no right and there is no wrong. If you get it wrong, Daddy's not going to yell. I'm not going to lose my patience with you. But I want you to take everything that they've been telling you and put it out of your brain, and let's start new. And she said, okay. And we've got this little thing, you know, when she makes a mistake, we pretend like, you know, you wipe the board clean. So that's our little thing. So we wipe the board clean. And so I explained to her, listen, with the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, carry the one up here, then add that column up. She does it. No problem. She's like, Daddy, this is so easy. Yeah, go figure, right? So it's all right, let's do the next one. So she does the next one. I said, now I'm going to go inside and I'm going to go play with some toys. Space. Hey, it's noon here on the East Coast, which means it's 9 o'clock on the West Coast. And as always, good man upstairs is saying, DML, you're doing the right thing. Thank you. So, and when I don't do the right thing, the bells will stop. I just got a feeling. So, she does all 20 examples. I'm inside of my laptop, probably posting something somewhere. And she says, Daddy, I'm done. I go back inside. I look at the 20 examples. She gets a 100 on Daddy's test. Same math. She got every single one wrong. She now gets every single one right. So, immediately, I write a note to the teacher and I say, I'll make the name up. Mrs. Smith, I need to come in and talk to you. And so when Mr. Lynch comes to school, they know it's not going to be easy. And the people who live locally, if you're watching this right now, like Ashley, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, so I go up to school and I sit down with Mrs. Smith, who's a doll, total doll. It's Mrs. Smith, man. I'm not digging this Common Core. And I don't like the fact that my daughter's got to be teach this stuff. You know, teached. See what I'm talking about? taught this stuff. And she cannot come out and express that she doesn't like it, but I could read her eyes, you know what I mean? And I don't want her to feel as if she's gonna get in trouble. And that's what will ultimately happen if she criticizes it. So anyway, she's like, yeah, you know, Dennis, anything that you think that you can do to help, you know, please do. I said, okay, fine, I will. So I told my daughter she is now to start to do the math this way, and until she can understand how the Common Core stuff works, and that her teacher was not going to give her any penalization. Is that a word, penalization? She was not going to penalize her at all if she didn't do the Common Core in the way that they're teaching, but if she did it in Daddy's math, which is basically your math. The best way I could explain it to you, those of you who aren't in touch with Common Core, I once explained it like this. It's like, let's say for instance, you ran out of milk, right? And you had to call upon your neighbor next door to get the milk. Hey, can I borrow some milk? Can I borrow a cup of milk? Absolutely you can. So what you do, you tell your kid, go next door to Mrs. Jones and get a cup of milk and bring it back to Daddy. So that would be regular straight up math. Hi, good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Gotta be nice to people, you know what I'm saying? You gotta be nice. Most people walk around, they're all afraid nowadays, you know, who's this person? Just be nice. Shower people with love, shower people with happiness. Everybody wants to be happy. Nothing to be scared of. Anyway, so it's like this. So it's like telling your kid, go next door to get the cup of milk from Mrs. Jones. Kid goes next door, gets the milk, comes back 20 seconds later, right? Okay, with Common Core is like the equivalent of me saying to my kid, listen, I want you to go next door to get Mrs. Jones the cup of milk. But to get there, I want you to go clockwise around the block the whole way and go to Mrs. Jones' house and then bring me the milk. Because I want you to do this because I want you to understand the theory of what a neighborhood is. Because you can't understand who our neighbor is unless you understand the theory of a neighborhood. See how confusing that is? I mean, that's the example, man. That's a great example. It's really it. Instead of just saying, go next door and get the milk from our neighbor, in Common Core, it says, go around the block. So this way you could understand the meaning of a block in a neighborhood and get it from Mrs. Jones. So I put this kid in a situation to where it's frustrating and it takes longer to get to where you need to be. Ultimately, you're getting to the same place. So why it is we do this is unbelievable. Not only that, then you look at Common Core in terms of some of the teachings that they have on, you know, history. I call it social studies. It was social studies when I was a kid, you know. And I mean, the stuff that they've put in there, you know what we'll do, because I love you. What we'll do is next week, when the holidays are over and all my riders are back to, you know, not having the turkey weighing them down, their brains weighing them down, I will put one of my riders on getting you an incredible amount of examples to where you could see what it is that I'm talking about, and you could share this stuff, and you will just be like, why are we teaching this stuff? So we go back to Mr. Donald J. Trump, President-elect. Why did he take this woman? I don't have the answer for you yet. And I promised you that if I don't have the answer to something, I'm not going to pretend as if I do. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to try to figure it out. And if it's problematic, we will hold his feet to the fire. If it's not problematic, if she's changed her position, these people change all their positions all the time, you know? What's there to change? But anyway, she changed her position or whatever it may be, because Donald J. Trump promised us. I mean, he promised us. You ready? I'll do a little imitation. Common Core, disaster. Okay, I remember that. So does everybody else. We're going to remember Donald J. Trump. See, one of the things that Donald J. Trump, President-elect, that I'm very proud to vote for, one of the things he's going to recognize pretty soon is that the love fest is now going to turn into a demand fest. Okay? Yeah, we love you, and that's great. And we cheered for you, we did all the other stuff. But it's time to get to work, man. You know? It's time to make America great again, like you make all those fancy schmancy towers that you've made. Now you gotta make America great again. I'm holding your feet to the fire. All right? You know, less talk and more walk. Yeah? That's it. As my father would say, and I'm not gonna curse here on Thanksgiving, but he'd say, less horse and more horsepower. Yeah, and you could tell he was a U.S. Marine. Okay, next topic. What are we doing? All right? I got my cheat sheet today. It makes it even more weird. You know, you walk around town like this, talking on the phone, reading a piece of paper. Look at all these notes. All these notes. All stored up here in yours truly's noggin. All right, so what do we got? All right, so let's get back into the whole raising the $250,000 thing, because I got to tell you a couple of great stories about this, and I want to outline one more time, and I'll do it briefly so it doesn't get too long, what it is we're doing. Because I read some of the comments. Some people say, hey, great, you raised the money. Now what happens next? You know, or people say, you know, why do you need $250,000 to walk the street? Yes, okay, all right. So anyhow, yesterday while I'm walking, talking with you, I told you we were about $2,800 short, right? So lo and behold, while I'm out here walking and talking with you, I had my 2 kids, if you remember correctly. They didn't want to go on screen. I can't say I blame them. A lovely woman named Janet, who owns a glass company in New York City. From what I can tell, she does, like, you know, high-end glass for bathrooms and stuff. Beautiful work. Beautiful work. She winds up hearing that we're short $2,800. She donates the $2,800 while I'm walking and talking. Now, I don't see this. I don't know this. I can't read. I mean, today there's not a whole lot of comments, so I could read them slower, right? But usually the comments are just going fast, so fast, and my brain's going so fast, I can't read the comments till the end. So I go home, and you know, Miss Mary didn't walk with us yesterday, and she said, hey, by the way, there was $750 in donations sent in checks. I said, oh, okay. So I sat down, did the math where we were, did a little math, there we go, put up on the page that we're still short. So I figured by today we'd be good. So I go back in and I check it a few hours later. I was like, whoa, how did that pop happen? And I go and I take a look, and I didn't check the PayPal earlier on that this woman gave $2,800. I was like, wow. That and all the other beautiful donations, whether they're $1 or $50 or whatever, they're all coming in. And she wrote me a note on her PayPal submission, and I sent her an email, and I said, I cannot thank you enough. And she just said, you know, well, such wonderful things. And I said to her that she didn't ask me if I would tell you about it. I said, am I allowed to tell people? She said, you can tell them whatever you want, Dennis. Which means that she's proud of her donation, and I appreciate that. So we have that. I already told you about Ray. So here's what we're going to do, okay? And this is how I explained it to my buddy last night. I call him my Fox buddy, even though he's not an official part of Fox. He's just a guest. This is going to work in 3 phases. And as he said to me last night, he says, DML, you understand politics, you understand business, you understand TV. You're going to do this. And I said, yes, I am going to do this with the great help of the American people. We're going to do it in 3 phases. Phase 1. What we're going to do is, you know, DennisMichaelLynch.com. And I know some of the advertisements on there are annoying, and they pop up and they frustrate you. That stuff, by and large, is going to go away. Not all of it, but some of it's going to go away. So we are going to have multiple different websites that are going to, in some cases, be dedicated to vertical topics. Some cases be more like DennisMichaelLynch.com. But we were going to have multiple of them. And you are going to run those websites. And so we've already started hiring some people, and we're training them now. And we will have multiple Facebook pages. And so there is a strategy as to why I know I have to build it this way, which I am not going to reveal, but I will tell you it's going to be very, 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 very smart. And so we will build that, and we will be reaching out that net in a huge way. Now, there's a website you probably don't go to. It's called BuzzFeed. Sort of set for millennials, very liberal, but it outdoes CNN, it outdoes Fox, it outdoes all of them. It's one of the top websites in the world. I suspect that our websites, the whole thing I'm building here, eventually, I say you got to give me about a year, our websites will be up there toward the top. We will beat Breitbart. There's no doubt. Breitbart has lifted itself to the top of the game here, one of the top players. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're, hard-nosed in terms of their commentary and their reporting. And it's also because Steve Bannon, who's now part of Trump, right? He brought a lot of highlight to them. So there you go. But at the end of the day, my strategy is far better than theirs. They had 300 million page views over the last 30 days. Breitbart has been in business for a long time. Our website has been up for, I think, 7 months. And this month we'll probably hit 20 million page views. So if I did 20 million in 7 months, and they've done 300 million, having their number one guy sitting next to the President of the United States every single day, think about what I'm going to wind up doing. We're going to do it. And the reason why it's going to happen is because you people, you good people, you're powering it. That's what they don't get on the other side. That's phase one. And I'm going to have all that stuff pretty much set in place where you're going to say, wow, he wasn't kidding. I say it's going to take me about 3 months, maybe 4. And I say 4 maybe because of the holidays. So stage 2. On Friday of this week coming, I have given the opportunity for somebody who has, followed me here for a little while. He's a conservative. He is he's part of a Batman and Robin team. He creates apps. And I said, I'll give you the shot to do it. So we are creating an app, and the prototype is going to be ready on this coming Friday, not tomorrow, but the next Friday, a week from tomorrow. And that app is going to go on your phone. It's going to go onto your tablets and go anywhere you want it. And just like when you open up your phone and you see that maybe you had 6 text messages while you were gone, it says little 6, right? We're going to have an app that sits on your phone, and every single time that my writers on all those websites wound up hitting publish to a new story, you've got them now in your app. You never have to miss anything. You never have to cry about Facebook not putting stuff in your feed. You don't have to worry about any of it. We're coming directly to you. We're kicking these guys out of the way. Okay? So, is it going to cost you anything? It doesn't cost you a thing. Free download, you put it on there. We're not going to put stupid stuff on there like, Johnny's flag fell down. No, we're going to put stuff that you want to know, pertinent information. Now, that's stage 2, where you're going to have these apps, and included in the content we deliver to you are micro shows. You ask, DML, what's a micro show? Here's what a micro show is. A micro show is, imagine, I know a lot of you probably didn't watch my show on Newsmax because you're new to me, but imagine, I always pick on Megan. I'm leaving Megan behind. I'm not talking about her anymore. Imagine Hannity, right? So Hannity has a 1-hour show, but it's not really 1 hour, it's 40 minutes. The reason why it comes off as 1 hour because of all the commercials, right? So what we will do is we will wind up having micro shows, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, what have you. And they're not part of a network because, you're not going to have O'Reilly and then Megan and then Hannity. I mean, Fox, to build 24 hours of programming, which a lot of it is repeated, that takes, what does it take, 20 years? So anyway, and even when I was at Newsmax, there were only, I don't know what it was, 4 shows. There was mine and the other ones. But, it was taking him time to get these shows up. And that's because he was, in my opinion, doing it all wrong, except for my show, of course. And that's because I ran my show. I was given full slate. Go do what you want. Build what you want. I had good people on my team. We built what we want. It wasn't until I was told you can't do your own show in the way you want to do it anymore. Pull plug. That was over. But so we will have these micro shows, and those micro shows will be down to you on that app. You'll be able to watch them on your phone. You'll be able to watch them on your television, your smart TV. And by the way, if you're in the market for a television this Christmas, or if Santa is asking you what you want, put smart TV down. Smart TV basically is a television that will wirelessly hook to the internet. And what that does is it puts us in the same sort of strength that the network television news does, because no more remote control 25, 26, 27. No, now it's app. Just like you click Netflix or you click Amazon, you'll click DML. And no, I don't know. I shouldn't say DML because I don't want you to think it's just me. The micro show, my micro show, are the people I'm signing up to do shows under our network. So you know what? Right now, we'll just call it the People's Network for short. It's not going to be named the People's Network. I know a lot of people are asking me, what's the name? I was going to put up all the different names we're considering, and then we recognized that we didn't have all the URLs, and some of the URLs were taken. So I said, you know what? I don't want to put up a poll for people to choose what a name is. if we can't get that name. So what we were doing is collecting all the names and doing different iterations and, locking up URLs. I don't want to lock up 100 URLs and be out, thousands of dollars and ultimately just pick one. So we're narrowing it down, and there's no fuss, there's no pressure to have this stuff ready now for another couple of weeks anyway. But for reference, we'll just call it the People's Network. So the People's Network, you'll have your little app there, and you go on your phone or you go on your television, you click on the People's Network, and let's say, for instance, my show is called Walk and Talk, and then I'll have another show called, the DML Report, and so you could click on that, or you could have, I'm making up names now, right? You could have, the Billy File, or you could have the Joni Factor, or you could have, Justice with Judge Billy. Whatever it is that our shows are, that will all be there on your app. You could watch them either in real time or you could watch the replays of them. It's gonna be so cool. People on bikes coming out to say hello. Have a Merry Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you,
Thank you very much. It sounds like a German accent. Probably doesn't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, do they have Thanksgiving in Germany? Probably have their own edition of it somehow. But Germany's in trouble. Oof, oof. Anyhow, so that is stage 2. Stage 3, that's when the stuff all starts coming together. That's when it gets really exciting. Because stage 3, it's going to take me about a year. And no, I can't do all this on $250,000, but I could get the beginning parts of it up. And then, revenue that comes in starts building. This is where you build a business. I build a business based on profits. If we don't have profits, we don't eat. So you guys are helping me, and the money I'm pitching in is helping giving the kickstart. And then, the revenue will help it go along. If we need to go out and get more funding, I'll come out to you. Or, I could go to some other very high wealth individuals and say, listen, you will never, ever, ever dictate what it is we cover, what we say, what we don't say, but we sure could use some of the money that you've got in that account that's not doing anything. And I say, okay, fine, here you go, Dennis. And boom, we go. Stage 3 is where we are an official network. 24 hours of programming, little mix of some documentaries in there. Yeah, we will have some stuff where you could, health shows and cooking shows and some sports stuff, but primarily news and news-based entertainment. It's going to be fantastic. So, anyhow, that's how that's going to work. Now, we need people, all right? So, if you're interested in this, being a writer or being a researcher or whatever it may be, you send an email to wetrustdml@gmail.com. And then what will wind up happening, I'm going to cut across here. Hold on one second. I don't want to get hit by a car. So then what will wind up happening is we will take a look at who you are and what you're looking to do, and eventually, hopefully, we'll be able to get in touch with you. Now, that being said, some of you may be saying, wait a second, Dennis, I've already sent something to you and I didn't get contacted. That's okay. It's okay. Maybe send it one more time. Keep in mind that we get now about 6 to 7 emails per minute. And right now we're a little overwhelmed. And I have been, trying to do this money campaign thing. Now that's out of my life, I could start focusing in on other stuff too. So we'll get to you sooner or later. Can't guarantee we'll have a spot for you, but I will guarantee we'll at least take a look, okay? And my objective is that 90% of the people that we hire are going to be people who are with me every day. People we see commenting on Facebook, people who have donated. We take care of our own here. That's the way it works. All right, last leg of our Thanksgiving special, if you will. By the way, I think I already brought this up at the beginning. I did go Facebook Live last night. Probably shouldn't have done that. I don't like abusing the fact that you give me your time. But I was just so happy. I was happy, You guys helped fund this new media platform. I was on a high. Just saying life is great. Walking here in the dark, pitch black by myself. It's pretty cool. But anyhow, kept my voice low. I didn't want to wake anybody up in the neighborhood. So, I asked you to send me questions that you wanted me to answer today, right? So, I got so many that I said, okay, there's no way I could answer all these questions in one sitting. So what I will do from time to time You know, the walk and talk is going to sort of take on a personality of its own. You can see today on Facebook, I sort of put up a new looking graphic. You know, I'm doing it almost like I did my television show. Politics, opinion, maybe a little wow, something around that says, wow, you know, today's wow was, wow, we got $250,000. And then always story time. Story time, you know, my real dedicated followers stick around with me. You know, I tell good stories. I've lived a very, very exciting life so far. And so anyway, today's story time will be your Q&A. Now, maybe what I'll do is on Fridays, I won't tell stories. I'll just answer all your questions. So let's go with the 10 questions we got, all right? Question from Leonard. Leonard asks me, DML, my handwriting's so bad, look, so bad. DML, what's worse, for you to be hurt or pissed off? Aha, great question. Hurt. Don't like being hurt. Don't like it at all. You know, don't like it. Hate being hurt. I don't think anybody likes being hurt. Pissed off, I could sort of get over with, you know what I mean? Guy drives by right now, it goes too fast, you hear, I yell at him, he drives, 2 seconds later I'm over. Guy turns around, stops the car, and, you know, says something really mean to me, and then he leaves. I say, why did he say that to me? You know, and I didn't mean that, or whatever it may be. And so hurt is always worse. I'm gonna tell you a story. You guys, I'm gonna depend on you to remind me of this story. Actually, I might even tell it today. Just put it, just computer store. You know how I lose my train of thought sometimes. Computer store. Just make sure I tell you the story about the computer store, about when I was hurt. Okay. Karen and Herb, Thanksgiving, happy to you. Ask, what do you do to relax? I walk and I talk. Seriously, it's my favorite part of my day. Aside from saying goodnight to my children, giving them a kiss. And actually, it's my second favorite part of the day. My little girl, she's now 8 years old. I do this little thing for about twice a week. I don't know how I came up with it, but I just came up with it. In her bedroom, the wall over her, the ceiling, how do I say this? The ceiling, we don't have straight ceiling that comes down. It goes like this, angled, and then down. That angle goes over her head, sort of thing. And so her room is beautiful. You know, I painted it yellow, and I made all these big pink circles and stuff. So one morning, she came down and said something about she had a dream that I left her a note or something. I was half listening. I couldn't understand. In the morning's my busiest time. So that night, I took a sheet like this, and I wrote her a note, and I said, you are the most special person in the world. And I taped it to the part of the ceiling that sort of angles. So when she woke up, the note was right in her face. And so now she makes it so this way, she says it's the favorite thing in the world. So now she says I have to do it every night. I can't do it every night, so I do it twice a week. That's my favorite part, when she comes downstairs and she reads the note back to me. But aside from that, this is the most relaxing thing in my life. Walking, talking to you, seeing you guys hit the like and the hearts. I think I'm making an impact on somebody else's life, whether it's one person or 1,000 people. So, great question, by the way. Thank you. Have a great Thanksgiving. Luan asks, how long... People drive too fast. It's Thanksgiving, man. Slow down. I'm not going to yell at him or her. How long until we could rival the other outlets? Meaning like the Foxes and the CNBCs. You know, Apple Computer has a theory. I don't know if you own Apple stock. They always under-promise and over-deliver. So they'll say to you, yeah, next quarter, our forecast is sales will be 2 billion. And then when the next quarter comes and sales are 4 billion, what happens? Their stock skyrockets. Happy Thanksgiving. Walking a baby. God bless new life, you know? God's happy when he sees new babies. So anyway, so I'm going to you know, their stock skyrockets. Worst thing in the world is you say, hey, we're going to do 4 billion next quarter and you're only coming in 2 billion. So I'm going to under promise and over deliver. I say it's going to take us a good year. A year from now, a year and a half. I'll go with a year and a half. Year and a half, it will be MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, and the People's Network. You've got my word. God willing. You know, God willing. All right, so what do we have? Mary. Mary is a great name. Mary says, how did you get into journalism? Aha. You may be very disappointed in this answer. I don't consider myself a journalist. I don't. I didn't go to journalism school. I don't act like a journalist in the sense that, you know, journalists, I don't know, they sit at their desks all day as far as I'm concerned. You know, I've always said I'm a CEO who's dangerous with a camera. And now I'm dangerous with a pen or a keyboard. And, you know, I'm just a guy who, you know, I'm frustrated with what I see out there. Now, how did I get started? I'm going to give you the short story because you could actually watch this in They Come to America 1, first movie I ever made. I was making a movie out here is how I started. I mean, how did I get started? I lived 9/11. I used to be a Park Avenue dude. You know, I had all, you know, wore the business suit, all the other different stuff, you know, to tie up to here. My God, it's before I had double chins. Anyhow, so I lived 9/11. You know, I ran from those buildings when they collapsed. So that day, I went back to my partner at the time, a guy named John Scully, who actually was running Apple. He ran it for 10 years. And I said to him, I'm done, man, no more. I'm going to go fulfill my dream of making films. So I went to film school. I did that for 5 weeks. I came out and I started making short videos on health and cooking. And I was doing stuff for AOL and ABC News. You know, sending them health videos. And then that just transitioned into starting making documentaries. First documentary I made was out here. It was called King of the Hamptons. It was really about a whole lot of nothing, to be quite honest. I just watched it the other day, or at least portions thereof. It's excellent. I mean, I love it. It's fantastic. But it's just like, you know, it's about living life. In fact, I'm going to tell you another story one day about Catherine. Note to self, Catherine. I'll tell that story tomorrow. It's fantastic. It's a feel-good story. So I was making this film. Christy Brinkley's in it. Billy Joel. Also, make sure I tell you the story about Billy Joel the day he invited me to his house and I stepped on his dog do. That was embarrassing. But anyway, so a bunch of stars are in it. And so as I'm making this film, I didn't live out here. I'd have to drive every day. And every day I drove out here, there was a guy standing on the corner of a 7-Eleven holding a sign that said, "Deport illegals." So I used to look past this, you know, look at this guy all the time, think he was a nut. I knew nothing about illegals or legal immigration. People would either throw coffee at him or they'd honk. So one day I pulled over and I'm getting into my car. I couldn't hold back. I said, dude, what are you doing here every day? And he started talking to me about illegal immigration and about how it is that he had a contracting business and he lost everything because these people undercut him. And I say these people across the way from him, you know, the 7-Eleven has become like a hiring depot. Imagine, you know, what looks like 200 prostitutes standing on a corner soliciting themselves. But only in this case, even though it's illegal, cops aren't coming and stopping them. And vans are coming up. How much? Guy would say how much per hour. He gets in the van, he goes away. This is why this guy lost his business. So I was like, wow, what an interesting story. I never heard of anything like this before. So I started to research this stuff. And back in those days, I didn't watch Fox News. You know, I watched ABC, NBC, CBS, like everybody else. And when I looked up illegal immigration, it was always stories about the poor immigrant and the truck that they make through Mexico and, you know, whatever. And I'm like, wait a second, why isn't anybody putting an American face on this problem? So I decided that I would make a documentary about it. And I got hooked. Because once you wind up seeing that the country is the mess that it is, especially this topic, you can't go out, you know? So the days of Christy Brinkley, Alec Baldwin, and Billy Joel were behind me. I never looked back. And so that's how I got into this. And slowly but surely, it went from making films to doing news items, to being a commentator on Fox, to having my own show, and now walking the street and talking to you. This is actually the favorite thing I do. I love this. That's how, all right? I think I made a long story long. All right, so what do we have? Andrea asks, Japanese are selling and slaughtering dolphins. Do you know if this is true? Yes, it is true. There is a documentary. If you have not seen it, you must see it. It won the Oscar for documentaries going back, oh boy, maybe 3-4 years ago, called The Cove. You have to see it. It is fantastic as it is disturbing. And what happens is they collect all these dolphins. I don't want to ruin the movie for you, but it's called The Cove. and they get all these dolphins, and they wrap them up, and they lead them all to like this lagoon, and then they sell them off to places like SeaWorld and all these different, you know, aquariums. And then the ones they don't sell, they slaughter. Yeah. So yes, it is absolutely true. And it's amazing. I knew the answer to that question. When I read the questions, you know, even what Andrea said is because, look, this is off topic. It's not politics. I started reading it, you know. I thought it was going to be something like, you know, are there really UFOs? And all of a sudden I started reading the dolphin thing. I said, hey, I know a lot about this. So anyway, that's that. What do we have? Jason, with a Y, says, why does Obama say ISIL instead of ISIS? Aha. Great question. ISIL stands for the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. And the Levant is pretty much an area over there in the Middle East. The reason why he does not say ISIS, all right, which is the Islamic State for Iraq and Syria, is because if he started to say ISIS, he would have to take accountability that he allowed ISIS to metastasize and move into Syria. He doesn't want to do that. So that's why he calls it ISIL. In fact, all of us say ISIS because we're so used to it. It's not even ISIS anymore. It's Islamic State. They have now officially called themselves Islamic State, meaning they have moved past Iraq and past Syria. So that's why that little president says ISIL, because he is arrogant and he thinks that the JV team isn't really anything that much to worry about. So that's why it's ISIL. Hope that helped. Okay, so just told you about the Levant. Okay, what do we got next? Getting down to the bottom here. We got Linda. Linda says, what's your favorite cocktail? Hands down, Johnny Walker Black on the rocks. No second place. Next, Linda. Oh, Linda just asked me. Kathy. Kathy says, you're concerned, Donald Trump's last 2 videos that he put out on YouTube, he put out a Thanksgiving one today, and he put out another one the other day about the top 100 days. She's concerned that he's starting to say sound robotic. Kathy, don't be concerned about that. He's doing 2 things, well, maybe 3 things. Number 1, he's reading off a teleprompter. He's trying to stay brief and concise because that's what people are telling him. Look, man, the long-winded stuff at the rallies were okay, but you can't go on for 20 minutes. Let's get the message across, 3 minutes or less. And so he's reading off a teleprompter. He could go off teleprompter and start doing the hand gestures and all the other different stuff he does, but he's trying to get the message out. That's number 1. Number 2, Donald Trump, and I don't know if you call this a shortcoming or just part of his personality, you know, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but he's a showman, you know, he's a showman. And so now he believes that he's the president. He must look and sound presidential at all given times. He must look and sound presidential. This is a phase. He'll get past it. It's sort of like me recognizing the fact that whether or not I'm in a shirt and tie and my hair perfectly parted, or I'm wearing some crazy wacky hat, or, you know, if I decide to go like this, it's not what I look like, giving you the information you want to know. It's what I'm telling you. He'll figure out that sooner or later, the best thing is for him to just be himself. Give him a little time, you know? Being the president and president-elect, not an easy thing to do. He'll come around. He'll come around. But if you have to, just close your eyes and listen to the words, you know? And it's when you don't like what he says that way you should really get bothered, not how he says it. But I understand your concern, and happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you for the question. Pete says, are you on the right or the middle? I would say I'm conservative. That's the best way to say it. Conservative, but I am always open-minded to everything. I used to on Newsmax, I don't know, those of you who used to watch my show religiously every night, periodically I'd have on a transgender, or I'd have on, you know, a cross-dresser or something like that. And I never abused them. Didn't have them on to make fun. Had them on so this way they felt as if they had a place where they could just be comfortable and express to people why it is that they do those sort of things, why it is that they're at that point, you know, in their life. It's just so this way maybe we could get a better understanding for what it is that we certainly don't understand. So I would treat them with politeness, and you know what they would say? They'd go off and they'd say, hey, I know this guy is Mr. Conservative, but please tell Dennis Michael Lynch, thank you for giving me the opportunity. And so my producers would come in and tell me that, or whatever it may be. And, look, we're not all going to agree, but at the end of the day, I consider us all on the same team. We're all Americans, and whether we decide that we want to dress in dresses when we should be dressing in, slacks, that's not for me to decide. I'm never going to tell anybody who they should and should not sleep with, or who they should and should not pray to. I hold myself accountable for what I do, and I try to give everybody a voice. Whether I agree with what you say or don't agree with what you say is not the point. The point is, for as long as you're respectable in how you say things, I will give you that voice. The minute you become a jerk or a screaming lunatic, I've had those before. Give liberals, give them a chance to sit down on the show, and they act like a jerk. They try to upstage me, screaming, yelling. Guess what they never do? Come back. And it's not because they don't want to. It's because yours truly closes the door. Okay, who we got next? Mary and Keith. Oh, Mary and Keith asked me 10 questions. And I would say 8 of the 10 were really, really cool, great questions. 2 of them I said, I'm not answering that. But aside from that, they were great. So I'll tell you what, I picked 3. We're going to close it on 3 because my walk is starting to come to an end. Okay, so we've got number 1. If you could witness any event, past or present, what would it be? Oh, man. Oh. I'm going to give 2 answers. I witnessed the most horrific day on American soil, which was 9/11. So if I could go back and relive any event, it would be the day before 9/11. So this way, I would be able to say, this is what's going to happen. I know that's kind of not what you were asking me, but I would have liked to have tried to play a role in stopping that. But I guess if I could live any event going forward, I'd like to live the event of the Israeli-Palestine conflict stopping. I think that turmoil over in the Middle East is the source of so many problems. And I would just like to see the event of where everybody just recognizes Israel as a state and leaves those people alone. That's the event I want to see. All right? Next question. If you could trade lives with anybody, who would it be? Ha! Well, I wouldn't trade my life for anything. I have enough money to pay my bills. I like what I do, and I love the people who are in my life. So that being said, if I could sort of feel what it was like to be Derek Jeter and be the shortstop for the New York Yankees and win all those World Series, I think I'd want to do that. That would be pretty cool. Other than that, maybe I'd like to take Donald Trump's job, because wow, what a fantastic role he has. And so, but anyway, I'm going to let him do that great job. So there you go, multiple answers to one question. And then last, my worst habit. Some would say my digressions during my walk-in talks is my worst habit. I would say my worst habit, cursing. Although I'm working on it as much as I can. Cursing. My father was a U.S. Marine, a 1-9 Marine, which is, their name is the Walking Dead. He saw combat in Vietnam, like most people didn't see combat. I'll tell you some of those stories sometimes. And he's got PTSD now, and unfortunately suffers from alcoholism ever since he's gotten back. He's never the same guy. He's had a very difficult, tough life. All points back to his time in Vietnam. Just can't get past it. When we were kids, we couldn't have even cap guns, because if we shot the cap gun,
he would think he was back in the bush. You know, if he watched a war movie, which he would tend to not do, but if he ever did, you know, there would be sometimes in the middle of the night, he would actually think my mother was some Vietnamese coming after him, and, you know, he'd hit the deck on the floor. Pretty rough stuff. So, why am I telling you that question again? My worst habit? Oh, so, you know, when your dad's a Marine, I don't know if every Marine's like this, you know, but my father's a Marine, and he's a Marine through and through. When he bleeds Marine. When he eats Marine. You know, so a lot of times when we were kids, we'd be, huh, here, huh, huh. I mean, that's what we do when we go up to bed, you know, he'd make jokes and stuff like that. But he used to curse like a machine, you know, so it was never, Dennis, pick up your underwear. It was, Dennis, pick up your effing underwear. And it was not, hey, Dennis, you talk fresh to your mother one more time, you're punished. It was, Dennis, talk fresh to your mother one more time, I'm going to kick your effing ass. You know, so that, you know, when you live in that environment, for as long as I've lived in that environment, sometimes cursing becomes second nature. Now, I could turn it on and off, but when I get very relaxed, which I am in those walk-in talks, you know, sometimes the turning it on and off just slips by, and I get caught into a story, and I just say it like I would say it to one of my buddies sitting at a, you know, at a restaurant or in a bar or, you know, while we're watching television. But at the same time I have to remember that just because that's the way I was raised or that's what I do, doesn't mean that that's what you want to hear. So I have to have more respect for what you want and what you don't want. And I know some of you are like, hey, don't worry about it, we all curse. Yes, but you know what? There are people who I know have their children listen to this because they want them to get the real education they should, instead of some liberal whoever. And then there are other people who, you know, just do not believe that you should ever curse or swear. And I have to have respect for that. And there's no reason for it. So that's probably my worst habit. And that and not remembering to charge my cell phone. You have no idea the panic that takes place in our house or in our office, depending where I am before I come out for the walk. Before, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, my phone isn't charged, I'm not going to make it all the way through. Like last night when I was doing a walking talk, you know, I'm walking at night, you guys are like, don't get killed. I'm not going to get killed. But anyway, you know, all of a sudden the phone goes off and you're thinking I got killed. That's not fair to you. So I got to get better about charging my phone. Here, you want an entrepreneurial idea? Come up with a batteryless phone. You will be a trillionaire. All right, that's it. I'm going to wrap this up. Let's see. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Loving the walk and talks. One more time, thank you so much for the donations. You know, if you want to continue to donate, fantastic. If you don't, you know, that's good too. But please, if you haven't done the 40404, please do that, you know, with a text message that says follow at Real Dennis Lynch, because that's one way to make sure that you don't ever have to worry about disconnecting from me, because Facebook doesn't put you in the feed anymore. All right? All right, have a great Thanksgiving, and I will be checking in later on from the Thanksgiving table. For those of you who are either bored or alone or just don't want to listen to your socialist cousin Susie anymore. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.